Hello everybody, Mad Luigi here, and today I want to talk about Elden Ring Nightreign, specifically my experience with the playtest, and I want to show you what it looks like to go from the start of the game, as you see here with me and my team of 3 wilders going into it, jumping off a perch and getting carried by a bird, kind of like Dark Souls 1, going from that to the end of the game, beating the final boss, at least in the playtest, the one Night Lord boss we got to play against. And I'm going to commentate throughout the game and talk about my experience with the playtest, what I liked about the game, things I'm hoping for the mainline release, features that weren't in the game fully that I would hope are in the big release because this was only a snippet of the game, and that's going to be the video. I'm probably not going to be showing every single second because I was thinking about doing a commentary for the entire video, the entire game, I should say. Except that's about 50 minutes long, and I don't know if I have an hour of stuff to say, and there's probably going to be a good amount of dead air just running around, so we're just going to possibly jump around, but I'll make that known whenever I do. So as you see here, this is me and 2 other wilders playing. We jumped in, we're killing some basic camps. This is the name of the game. You go around, kill camps, get XP, level up, get loot, and you're basically going full throttle the whole time because you want to maximize every second of ranking up, getting better gear. There isn't this slow, methodical approach that is sometimes taken in kind of the single player focused From Software games like Elden Ring or the whole Dark Souls series. For a lot of the playtests, the password matchmaking didn't work, so they had it turned off. So you could only play with randoms. But this one, I got to play with 2 of my other friends who had the playtest code. So we were able to be in a call on Discord talking about what we were doing, which definitely makes the experience a lot better. I definitely enjoyed playing the game with people I could talk to, because one, a lot of times games are more fun when you can talk to people, but especially in this where it's a very, very co-op centered game where it's like, what are we doing? How are we fighting? Where are we going? Kind of thing, like any battle royale, because this game is essentially kind of like a battle royale, except it's only PvE. There's no PvP component. There aren't other groups of Elden Ring Nightreign players you're playing against. So that definitely makes a big difference because the first sessions of the playtest playing with random people was a little bit stilted, and because that's going to be a significant feature in the game, there are big changes I would want to see in the main game, or maybe moderate changes, I could say, to differentiate the experience from the playtest. Because the playtest with randoms, the only form of communication you really have is going on the map that you might see pop up in the lower right hand side of the screen. On that map, you can scroll around it, you can ping things, and that is basically your way of communicating with other people through the in-game methods. The map is done pretty well because you can open it while running, while moving around. So I found it pretty easy to get adapted to it and utilize it while running around. You can zoom in, you can ping things, you can mark locations to go or items to pick up, and that is useful with randoms, but there isn't any sort of more comprehensive messaging system, and it can be hard to message on the fly. But in looking at another game I play, Smite, which is honestly not that well made of a game, but it has a very good VGS system, which I actually don't know what that stands for, but it's a form of communications that the game allows you to ping, like basically this game allows you to ping, except there isn't a loud, annoying ping like in Smite, and I'm assuming most other MOBAs. But the VGS system basically allows you to press a few buttons and it communicates preset messages like enemies coming right lane, or I'm heading into the jungle, or whatever other toxic, terrible MOBA callouts you have to make. It has that and a voice basically says that when you input the button combination. And I think that would be very beneficial, or something like that would be very beneficial, because this is so open-ended of a game. There aren't lanes, there isn't a set arena. You have this big open map, so saying, I'm going here, or retreat, or XYZ, would be very useful. Definitely when I was playing with randoms, being able to just a simple call out like retreat would be pretty beneficial. because it says, I don't want to take this fight. We're wasting too much time. This is a game where time is very important. You have to make sure you're maximizing your time to prepare for the boss fights at the end of each night. And if you don't do that, and if you're wasting that on a fight where it's like, we're not going to get a good enough loot for this fight for how long it's taking. Like some of the bosses are pretty easy. Like you saw this boss, this tower archer we just killed, was pretty low health, at least relative to our low level 3. We were able to kill it very quickly. So it's not a big investment. But there are some bosses where at level 3 here with maybe not super strong weapons, we wouldn't be able to kill in 20 seconds. Maybe it would take 2 minutes of fighting. And that's going to be a really significant time of the game where we could be looting, getting a higher level, and maybe coming back the second day to fight that boss and beat it really quickly. So you want to maximize that, and being able to communicate with randoms if there's going to be a matchmaking system, which there does seem to be, would be really important. So that's better communications is definitely something I'd want to see for the mainline release, because they are going to focus seemingly a lot on letting you play with randoms when you don't have a group to go in with, don't have a password making group. And that's going to make the experience, I think, a lot better. So I got pretty sidetracked on that and didn't talk about what I was doing in the game, but hopefully it was pretty straightforward, because so far the circle, which is the enclosing boundary of the map, hasn't started. We've just been going around looking for loot, killing bosses, doing the essential grind or gameplay loop of Nightreign. Speaking of weapons, you can try to orient your build, like the loot you get, which items you choose to hold on to or drop. You can orient that around a build, like if you have get a lot of bleed things or get a lot of lightning or whatever status effect. And you can hold 6 weapons, and most, I think, of the weapons, especially stronger weapons you get as you loot over time, have passives that give you better stance breaking when two-handing or inflict bleed or whatever normal status effects, kind of just a range of buffs. And all of those passives stack, even if you're not holding the weapon. So even though I'm holding this forked, I forget what it's called, but forked tongue sword, you can hold up to 6 weapons in total. The 5 other weapons, if they have passives, they're giving me those passives. So I'm two-handing right now. If I have the better poise breaking from two-handing, I'm getting that benefit even though I'm not equipped. I don't have the weapon equipped, or it's not even in my side like the shield. You still get the benefit from that. And that's so that encourages the more looting and looking for items that are going to help you, even if you're not going to utilize them in your build. Here we have the merchants, which you can buy stuff from and also upgrade your weapons at the smithing stones, or use the smithing stones at the anvil. I found that the upgrading weapons wasn't really strong, because it was hard to find smithing stones, and especially hard to find smithing stones to upgrade more than once. You can buy them from the merchant, so maybe that's a quick upgrade for a basic weapon. But there are also the difference between normal smithing stones for normal weapons and somber smithing stones for special weapons. And it's almost always easier to find a stronger weapon than invest resources in upgrading or trying to look for upgrading materials. So unfortunately, that wasn't a strong aspect of the game, so it wasn't really a part of consideration. I basically only looted instead of that. But maybe in the mainline game, they can tweak that so it's more beneficial. And here you see the 3 options of loot from a boss, and you can also get not just a weapon, you can get a static buff. Like that buff I just got was increased flask restoration, so my, not my Estus flask, but my flask of Crimson Tears heals me more throughout the game. You can also upgrade your flask by finding Churches of America. At the beginning of the game, we went to one of them. Those are marked on your map in addition to all the enemy buff camps. And those give you more flask upgrades. And those, at least in the playtest, they were always part of the game. So there are always, I think, 3 Churches of America. So you could get 3 flask buffs. And then also if you beat, I don't know if it's both night bosses. At the end of day 1, there's a big boss. At the end of day 2, there's a big boss. I'm pretty sure the boss at the end of day 2 gives you more flasks, or 1 more flask. I don't know if the first boss does that. And now you see that the circle is starting to close. So the nighttime has started, the day cycle has passed, and we're down to the point where the circle is closing on the final boss arena. You can see that's the Erdtree looking thing to the left on the map there. And me and my friends are looking for a little bit more loot before the circle closes completely. We found a beetle, one of the incantation beetles, and we're collecting that to see what it drops. They drop talismans. This one doesn't really help me in this build because I'm not doing spells or really skills, but it's can be a strong talisman because it's purple. But we grabbed that. Those are not shared loot as well. Only one person gets them, which could change in the base game. And we're just doing some stuff to loot up a little bit before the boss fight. And I don't think there's anything too super prominent. And I've rambled a lot. So I'm going to skip ahead to the boss fight of the first night. Oh, actually, before I do that, I'm going to show you this rise mechanic. See right there, I just walked through that bush, and in the bottom is that a rises contraption is unlocked. The rises in this game are set things that you basically figure out how to open, and then you parkour up and you get loot in the sense of kind of like the boss drops, where you get to choose. Here you see you get to choose from the 3 pieces of loot. And I think this is a purple one, so there it gives you the option of a purple loot. Except for me, I don't have any holy attacks. Maybe it'd be worth it to get it, but I think I go for something else to get improved magic damage negation, because as I said, it's a passive, so it'll help out. All right, now let's go to the end of day 1 and the circle close and the boss fight. All right, so here you see me in the circle, so I'm taking damage, running out of the circle into the area it wants us to go. And we have some demi-human enemies. So my friends and I have played a couple games together. We got this boss a few times, this upcoming boss. So we knew that these demi-human squadron of mobs before the boss fight was a signal that we were going to be getting the demi-human bosses. There were a small-ish number of bosses you could get in the different days for us. So we knew we were going to get the demi-human queen, and the demi-human sword master. And because we did this a few times, we knew that we wanted to focus the sword master. So all of us, you see I just used my ultimate ability right there, basically a big fire cannon. We knew that we wanted to just gank this guy. So we did, and you saw in a few seconds he was out. We're decently prepared. We're not super high level, but we were pretty ready. And also when you might have seen that when you get a visceral attack, which is basically when you get the cutscene animation to attack, normally, the enemy becomes invincible from any other damage during that, but in this game, they're promoting the co-op gank play. You can damage an enemy when your teammate is hitting them for a visceral attack. I don't actually remember if Elden Ring calls it something else, because I think visceral attack might be the Bloodborne terminology. But basically, you can all keep wailing on them and doing damage, and that's what we did. And now we get to focus on just the demi-human queen, who's a simpler, I would say, boss fight, because the swords master a little bit more tricky, can jump and go invisible, I think, can freeze you, can frostbite you. So you see here again, I'm getting the cutscene attack, and my friend used his Wilder Fire Explosion ult. I do not remember the names of any of the ults or abilities, but decent damage, and we're able to handle this fight pretty well, because I think we died one of the times we fought the demi-human, so we were like, not happening again. And with this, we beaten the boss of the first night. We get a piece of loot, a boss drop loot, and it says the knight is repulsed. And in a few moments, the circle, which you can see the ring of fire around us, is going to re-widen, which is something that in my experience playing battle royales, I don't think I played one that has that, where the circle closes, reopens, closes, reopens. But that's also, I don't think I played a non-PvP battle royale. So, and again, maybe it's not right to call this a battle royale because you're not battle royaling 20 other teams. But I forget what other term you'd use for this kind of looting circle closing experience. So that was the first night. That was the first day and first night. Go through, loot, get kitted up enough to fight the first boss, and then fight the first boss, win, and back to looting. We're stronger now, so we can still kill these camps because it's easy XP and it was right next to us. Maybe it's not super worth it to do these basic camps day 2 because you're stronger, so you can take on stronger bosses. You can take on the field dragons. You're gonna see one of those coming up, but we were right here, so we wanted to. This is another bleed weapon, the scythe. I have a little bit of a bleed build, and you can modify builds a little bit based on what items you pick up, yes, during a run, and that's going to change every run. But also when you finish a run, you can get a bunch of relics. I was going to say items. Relics that give you buffs out in the game, but they are buffs and items that persist outside of each match. So they're permanent upgrades, essentially. They have randomized effects, and you can use them to get one that increases your endurance or increases your strength or gives you class-specific upgrades or gives you a higher chance of proccing bleed. I have, I think, 1 or 2 relics that increases my bleed chance. This lion kept teleporting like he was out of bounds, so we couldn't hit him. So I'm looking for bleed weapons and trying to maximize bleed because I already have a little buff on that. So if I lean into that build, it's going to be a lot stronger. So once this lion stopped disappearing, you could see he isn't that strong or that hard of a boss for us at level 8. So we were able to kill him and get some purple buff from him. I think I go with the damage negation because neither of these things do bleed. Or maybe I get the Death's Poker for my friend because they said they wanted it. No, I go for physical damage negation because that's going to be a buff that I'm going to get use out of the whole time. Here you can see that field dragon up in the corner. That is what my friends and I wanted to go fight because second day you're stronger, go fight a field dragon, except you'll see that we run into a few obstacles in our way. I've been talking a lot, and this is a pretty basic boss fight, so I'm just going to skip ahead to the surprise. Alright, so here we are. We're heading towards the dragon. We beat the hippopotamus, and I think I got an attack power buff. We wanted to kill the dragon because that's the big boss. That's our main target for getting stronger buffs. Except, you might see, an invasion happens. We get invaded by the Fell Omen, who darkens our screen, smack talks us, and will hunt us to the end of the lands. So it's Margit. His boss fight has been kitted out a little bit. Maybe I should call him Morgott, but he doesn't have the big title, so Margit the Fell Omen, a little bit better. He'll teleport to you. He will chase you. If you don't kill him, I think he'll essentially infinitely follow you. You saw that both of my teammate Wilders tried bombing him. I think he follows you until you kill him as an invader, but I'm not 100% sure. I saw a clip of him following somebody pretty hard, but we know he's going to be a headache since we fought him before, so we decide to just try to fight him as much as we can and get away from the dragon so we're not fighting 2 bosses at once. You can see there's a little X, little crosshairs on me, and I'm pretty sure that means that Margit is just focusing me. Because we couldn't really trial and error guess that, but I think that's what was pretty straightforwardly clear, I think. So we do a pretty good job of tanking down his health, our bleed procs, or maybe just my bleed proc. I think my teammate has a katana, so that's possibly helping. Do pretty well at chunking his health bar. I think bleed is pretty strong. Maybe status effects are all pretty strong if you can stack them up, kind of like the base game. But in the base game of Elden Ring, or the main game of Elden Ring, I shouldn't call it the base game, bleed was super strong. So here you see improves the charge speed of Ultimate Arts Gauge. That is a buff I think Margit or the Fell Omen gives every time. That's not, you don't get an option of loot. I think if you get invaded by him, or there's another kind of invasion that can happen with ants, I think that's basically what it is every time. I think you just get that static upgrade. Here, the circle was closing around us, so we decided we don't have time to comfortably fight the dragon, so we go to this spirit tree and we take the spirit hawk, like in the start of the game, and we just try to get some ground to go get some more upgrades. I wasn't sure if we were going to go to the right there and fight the Zamora heroes, the ancient Zamora warriors of ice, but we just go to this site of grace because there's also a Church of America to once again upgrade our flasks to get more flasks. Since for the later fights, the fight of the second night and the final fight, the Night Lord, having more flasks is definitely a beneficial thing because it's more healing, obviously. So goated upgrade. All right, here we are in the forest, and you can see the circle is pretty closing again. In the meantime, we fought a few bosses, got some loot, got some weapons, got another Church of America, so upgraded flask. You can see I have 2 flame burges, no idea how to pronounce that. And one of them is fire, but they both inflict bleed, which I was really happy about. I have 2 of them, so I can power stance them and try to proc as many bleeds as I can. Here we have we're going to get the second boss fight, the second main boss fight, or the boss of the second day/night. This is another boss that me and my team have fought before, and we had trouble with. I think we died the last time we tried fighting them. There are some basic soldiers, so we know that they're going to be coming soon. But because this is a game where we get to the end, we do beat them this time. We're more ready for them, though it's still a pretty hard fight. I don't know if they did any hot fixes or hot updates while we were playing, or it was just a matter of my first couple sessions, I had people who would quit out, and that maybe changes the scaling, so it's easier. The bosses have less health when you have less people on your team. But the bosses this time, especially this boss, felt like it had a lot more health. Like it took a lot longer to whittle down their health and kill them. And again, maybe that's just because there's 3 of us and I hadn't played this fight with 3 people before, but who knows? We'll find out, I guess, in the base game. So you can see here that we have a Draconic Tree Sentinel and 2 Royal Cavalrymen as bosses. So 3 horsemen as bosses. The cavalrymen are not too hard. We were able to chunk them down pretty good, and while ignoring the Tree Sentinel, mainly it was running around, but then also attacking our 3rd player. So we got the chance to just gank this guy and basically almost kill him alone or for free. Obviously, he gets interrupted there. But this fight takes a while, so I'm probably going to skip ahead to when we get the Draconic Tree Sentinel down to more of a sliver of its health. Alright, so here we are with the 2 cavalrymen dead. The Tree Sentinel is pretty low. He is summoning the cavalrymen as a charge attack. That is an attack it starts to do whenever you, I think, kill one of the cavalrymen. They start to summon them. But my friends and I are able to do decent damage on the Tree Sentinel, get him to get staggered a bit. But in his second phase, he does summon I don't remember if it's Draconic Lightning or Ancient Lightning. Here you can see the first example of one of my teammates going down, and the mechanic to revive a down teammate is basically to hit them. And then each time they go down, the amount of times you need to hit them, their gauge increases. So it takes longer to get them up, and you have to dedicate more time avoiding the boss, not doing damage to the boss, to get them up. And they only have a set time limit in which you can do that, or else they basically die. I think both of those reset on each day. Like you can see now, there are 2 gauges to whack through on my teammate who went down. But I'm not 100% sure on the resetting. I'm pretty sure it's day by day or big boss fight by big boss fight. So after this boss fight, the gauge should reset. Here, the Tree Sentinel decided to spam fireballs, which was good for us because that meant 2 of the Wilders could wail on him. And that ends the second main boss fight, the boss of the second night. You saw the upgrades here are terrible, in my opinion, because they're just so specific. I don't think the final boss is Those Who Live in Death. It could be, I have no idea, but I didn't think it was. And so I thought it wouldn't be helpful at all, so I took the FP Restoration because I guess why not? And here you see the circle doesn't expand again. Instead, we get this goop this magic spatial goop that gives us the option to travel into the spirit shelter. This happens at the end of the second day, the second night. After you beat the second night's boss, you don't get a chance to go out back into the world. The circle stays closed, and day 3 starts in here in this spirit shelter, which I think was the name that I just said. There is a chance to buy items and upgrade your gear if you have stones to upgrade, smithing stones. But I do not. I don't have any somber smithing stones to upgrade the rarity of my weapon. So I decide I don't have anything to do. I don't think. Oh no, I have enough runes to upgrade. So I get up to level 13. I think level 15 is the maximum. And then I want to say I buy some prawns or crab from the merchant because I have nothing else to do. We're just trying to figure out what to do. I think my friends hadn't been in this area before, so I was also explaining to them how it works and that there's no more anything, so we want to use all the runes we have purchasing consumables and preparing. One of my friends uses his consumables right here because he thinks we're going immediately into the boss fight. There actually is a little bit to walk, so failing him. And I'll skip a little bit ahead because we're just kind of standing around. Here is a beautiful shot of us getting closer to the arena to fight the Night Lord. The art behind it, the doorway are all like pretty stunning. The colors, the white. It's pretty funny that we have just 3 wilders approaching the door to the Night Lord. But this is basically what it will be for every final boss, final Night Lord. I think this arena is basically going to stay the same. But there are, I think, up to 8 Night Lords, they said, and you choose that at the beginning of your match. So there was only 1 in the network test. We know what we're going to get. But in the full game, you're probably going to experience this in the doorway. But as you step in, it's going to be a different fight, depending on who you chose. So you see here, this is our arena. It's a fiery hellscape with molten ghost flags. And I am just realizing that one of the upgrades I got is the thing that has been spawning black smoke around me all the time, which is when I'm out of combat, it turns me invisible / silences my footsteps, which isn't really something that important in a super sprint around, kill 'em all game, but say love you. Here we see Gladius, the Beast of Nights, which is the Night Lord available in the playtest. I think they're all called Night Lords. I don't know if it's only the specific Giga Boss Night Lord is called the Night Lord, and these are all Night Sublords. I think they're all Night Lords, but not 100% sure. In the menu to choose bosses, Gladius is referred to as Tricephalus, I believe, which is a nod to the 3 heads, the Cerberus-like dog figure. But here it's called Gladius, which means sword in Latin, what the Romans called, I believe, their short sword, which makes sense because he is basically swinging around that sword. I don't know if the model is exactly what a actual Gladius is, but that's the reference. I think that sword is too long, I'm not 100%. But it's a Cerberus type figure that has fire that can grab you with its 3 heads and is a pretty cool fight. At least it was in the few times we played. With having 3 people, it is, I would say, an easier fight than the average Souls-like boss fight. But that's also because you have a much longer road to fighting the Night Lord, to fighting this boss. Here you can see it splits into 3, which is cool because it's the 3-person co-op experience. So the boss is centered around that. It splits into 3, so each one of you is fighting one of the bosses. Sometimes they switch aggro, especially I have my get turn invisible thing. So I think if I don't hit it for a few minutes or for a few seconds, it might aggro onto one of my teammates. But yeah, the boss fight is very cool. As I was saying, I think it is easier because you have if you fail the boss fight, you essentially have to play another 40 to 50 to an hour, minute to an hour long game to have another chance at it. Whereas in the FromSoft games, especially in Elden Ring, which had a minimized boss run back and the States America, Those bosses you can fight quickly. You can, as soon as you die, basically, you can go have another fight, have another chance at. So it makes sense to me that this might be an easier experience, unless they want to turn the bosses into something like a raid boss. You can see that I got hit by the grab and all the heads wail on me, but it doesn't do a crazy amount of damage. Like it does 50 to 60% of my health bar, which is not crazy. Sometimes with what my health bar looks like, I would be like, a strong grab attack is going to kill me in normal Elden Ring, but it doesn't in this game. So as I said, it is a decently easy fight with 3 people. We did struggle a bit. We got down to just 1 or 2 uses of our Essences. I think my bleed build was pretty strong. The bleed chunking I felt did a significant damage. So maybe that made it easier as well that I had a decent build going on. You can definitely get much stronger builds. Some of the effects I've heard that the relics give you are, well, obviously they're going to be somewhat unbalanced in this network test because it's such an early stage and they don't have the full round of players to balance it around. Some of the effects I heard were crazy strong, but it was a moderate difficulty, but on the easier side for me, for someone who's pretty Elden Ring FromSoft heavy. I heard from some of my friends / fellow creators that they felt it was pretty easy once you figure it out, essentially, that it can be too easy for the boss fight and the whole experience. Since if you're really good at grinding and maximizing, min-maxing your level gain, your loot gain in the 2 days you have before this, that's obviously going to make the boss fight easier because you're going to have better kit, better weapons, do more damage. And in the network test, the map did not feel like it changed that much. There was some randomization, but for the most part, it felt pretty like you check to see if the camps are different for what kinds of buffs they are. But beyond that, the Churches of America, to look out for. So you can get a pretty good flow going. Whereas if there was more randomization, it would be different. Here, I get the final hit. I get the bleed proc on the Night Lord, and it is called the Night Lord. So Night Lord felled. We get the victory. You get to hang out for a few seconds in the final boss arena before it boots you back to the matchmaking zone. I think it shows you your loot here. No, it goes black first and then shows you your loot. So these are the relics I talked about. They're randomized. You can get some that work for your character, some that don't. There was, because you can see they're color-coded, there was an issue where some of the, like a color that couldn't be used on a certain character, like Wilder or the Duchess, gave a specific buff to that character, so they could never use it, but it said increased X for Duchess, or Duchess skill or whatever. So that, I think, is something that they need to upgrade or update, fix. But that's the game. You can see I got the relics. There's the Duchess. I don't think the Duchess has a red slot, so she can't use this relic, but it gives a Duchess specific ability. So either I'm not understanding something or it needs to be updated. And then you can also see on the right there is a currency. I think those are called mercs. You couldn't use those for anything in the roundtable hold in this version. There wasn't anything to spend it on, but in the actual roundtable hold, or in the roundtable hold of the full game, you should be expected to be able to use the currency to buy things, maybe sell your relics you don't want to purchase other things, and yeah. So that is my experience with the game. That's a rundown of one full game. I probably talked more than I expected to. I hope you enjoyed my look at it, my experience with it, and the comments I gave about it. I'm going to be releasing more videos, more polished videos, since this was a unscripted ramble video. I hope it's enjoyable. But I'm going to be doing more scripted videos about certain aspects about the ping and communication system, like I said at the beginning of the video. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Peace.